Well, hello YouTubers. Hey, today I'm going to show you the stick that I'm going to make a walking stick out of. I don't know what I'm going to do with it, pretty much. I don't know exactly what it's going to look like, but I have an idea. So I'm going to put something on top of it here. I'm going to carve a little something here, but it's how crooked it is. But that's going to be just perfect for the Renaissance Fair. Now, it don't have to be a Renaissance Fair, but it's going to be kind of exotic like that. I know they have several of them around the country at different times of the year. I've been to a couple of them, and they're like a fantasy land they go to. Really enjoyed a couple of them when I was in the Houston area. Anyway, stay with me and we'll see how to do this one. The first thing we do is get this bark off of here, get the stick cleaned up, see what we got, and then we'll get it shaped up. I use this simple angle grinder. I used to have to do this outside all the time until I found this disc guard off of Amazon. Covered up like that, you have a brush all the way around it. Now that gets the maximum amount of stuff out of your shop, but I like to keep it open so I can kind of tell where I'm going to. This hooks up to your shop vac. And I'll tell you, without that, you'll get a lot of dust if you do this inside. You get bark and just throws it everywhere. But if you notice, it don't do it as bad with this. And we'll turn this on, get started. You can see that it don't make a lot of dust. I have a little bit, about half of it here. But you can see so far, I knocked that down. I did it all down to the natural wood. I got all the inner bark off of that right there. Finish this out here, and then we'll be back when I start to finish sanding, and we'll see a little bit about what it looks like. Most of it all fine sanded. I usually have below an inch on the tips when I get done. It's a little crooked yet. I leave the crooks in them. Crook means character. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to put something on top here. So I want it to be level when you're kind of comfortably holding the stick. If you're standing with it, you see right there, it's kind of going uphill a little bit that direction. So what I want to do is get us a pencil mark that somewhat levels that, going from this corner, and we can mark it there. Now I'm looking at in the camera to mark this, by the way. I'm going to kind of mark along this way. And you see now, if I hold this stick like this, that's more level than what this is. I'll go to the bandsaw and I'll cut that off next. I cut that off, make it flat. That's all I've done to it. And it's pretty slick right now, but I really like golden oak. It's got a lot of character on the top of it. It's just gonna lay there and dry. Yeah, it looks real good. Got a nice grain in it. One thing's important, before you put the finish on your stick, put a little hook on the end of your stick here so you can hang it up. So I take a small nail, it's just for a pilot hole. Drive a little nail in there, hang on and just pull that nail out real easy. Don't drive it in there too far. That gives you a pilot hole. Just give it a few turns and right in there it's ready to hook up. The only reason I'm using a brush is to get it out of the can, kind of get it applied. How else? I mean, you can pour your glove full of it and wipe it on, I guess, but I get it down with a brush first and then I'll wipe it a little. But I take it in and I hang it up right away because I already got the hook on it. And you just smear this, slap some of this on there. It's not really a cheap process. And with rubbing it down with these gloves, you'll get a real nice even coat on there. Let's go hang it up and we'll see what it looks like after it dries. I'm going to do an epoxy resin pour here for the topper that we're going to put on this stick. Now I'm going to show you a little trick. There's my resin mold. Got it filled up with water. Now I'm a measuring cup. Put it right in there. Now the little water stays in here and it wasn't quite as full as it ought to be. So it's going to take a little bit more than that, but that's how much resin you need. Give yourself a little extra there. 3.5 ounces, what it says it's going to need. And you'll see me mixing up about, because part of it when you pour it out, part of it is going to stick on the walls of your containers. So you're going to lose some there. So I'm going to, that says 3.5. I'm going to give myself an extra ounce here just to make sure we have enough. So I'm going to go 4.5 ounces. I will turn my mold wrong side out. Take a little paper towel here and get it dried off good. You can turn these wrong side out real easy and get them dried right back up, ready to pour. You don't have to let the water evaporate on there. That's real good right there. And if you see when I'm making pours like this, I bring extra mold out just for that purpose of what's left over, I'll pour in that mold. Now here's some mold. Here's a couple that I just took out of the pressure pot, and those were from leftovers. We also need some ice cream sticks or something, some kind of stick to stir this stuff with. I know how many ounces I need now. It's just now 1 ounce. Let's see where we're at. It's about right there. And then I'll put this right on up to the 4 ounce, to the 4.5. There's 4.5 ounces right there. And that is a 50-50 mix of your resin, AB part resin. Now that should fill up this mold. Now what you want to do, I usually wear out before then, but I give it a good 2 to 4 minutes is what I recommend. The company represents about all these resins are the same. Everybody will tell you 4 minutes, but it depends on how good a stirrer you are. Let's get real. You can only mix something so much. So I could give this a shade of purple. Wonder what that would look like. Now this happens to be a Renaissance stick, and I like to give it just a little bit of exotic or a mystical look to it. And to do that, we've got some purple silica powder, mica powder they call it. I want just a touch of purple. I want a transparent purple, so I'm just putting just that much in there. Just put that in there. A little bit goes a long way. We're going to give it just a touch and see what that looks like as we stir it up. That's going to give it a very transparent look. At the same time, it should have that don't take much. So after I get that stirred 4 minutes, I'll be back. Now is when we have to have gloves on. We've stirred this for about 4 minutes, and it's starting to warm up a little, and that's a good sign. Stir stick out a picture here. Let's pour this out. A very transparent purple, and I'm not going to fill it quite to the top yet, and I'll show you why. We're going to take it over to the pressure pot now. I'm going to show you. If I filled it plumb to the top where I wanted it, when I picked it up, it'd run over. So I'm going to set it over near the pressure pot. And then readjust the camera to point over to the pressure pot. Now you'll be able to see me. What I'm going to do is set this down in there. Then I'm going to take the rest of what I got poured here, and I'm going to top that off. That water trick got us right on up to the top. Now I got it full. Small amount there we'll look at. We'll put the lid on the pressure pot here. Tighten the other across from one another. I'll tighten this one and tighten this one. Now I'll shut the drain valve off and turn the pressure on it. and that goes after 24 hours. That'll be ready to take out. It's time to get these out of the hot pot here. There's our big one. There we go. I'll set this back on there. Keeps the dust out of my pot. Now we'll get them all set over here and kind of see what they want. Now I'm going to use this one and one of these little ones on this stick. So let's take this one out here, see what it looks like. We'll just peel that back, and it should be a transparent like purple. It's a real nice purple. Sure is. Not as transparent as I wanted it, but you can see some nice hues in there. This will be a little lighter. I added a little epoxy to it to make enough to fill it up. So it got a little bit lighter and is basically more of what I wanted. You see, you gotta be careful not to get too much. It takes a little bit to tint that up. And you see, that's still not as, that's more transparent than this one. But they're both pretty nice purple. And then our little crystal that we want is right here and right here. So this one, we'll start with it, roll it right out of there. And this one here is a smaller hole, you see, but that will come out of there. See that? It'll stretch right out and pop right out of there. Working with it to get it snapped out. Now these are two small crystals, and they're all exactly the same. Two small crystals now that we're going to use, but I think we're going to be using the bigger skull here. So we'll be putting this crystal right in that point right there. So let's get this started. What I'm going to do is drill a little hole right in here as usual. So we'll, first of all, we'll take a pencil. So I'll mark a pencil right here. And I'll take a dry marker pen and I'll put a little mark right there on the skull. And we'll go over to the center of the skull that way. You have to have a mark so you know where the center is. Now I can look straight down there. And then I'm going to get me I would get a line, but I'm going to put a line on it. I'll just guess center, and that's good for that hole. And right down here, we know that is center mark there, and I'm going to come straight down. So right in there is where I want the drill. So got to be a mark right there and a mark there in the center. We're ready to drill those out. Show you my clamp. When it was new, I closed it up tight and just took a little box and traced it around there. Or you could take a angle. This is a 90-degree angle that you cut out on each side. Close it up, that makes you a box across from it. And then you lay your ball or whatever you got in there, and you lay it down and tighten it up. Then all you got to do is bend over, make sure you got it fairly straight and level with the world. It looks pretty good right there. And then we'll line it up with the punch mark and go down in there and we'll drill it out. So. Well, that gives me a hole that looks like, and I guess that too, but it's from at least a minimum of a quarter to 3/8 deep. So let's get back over on the bench now, and we'll drill a hole in the stick. Now with the top of the stick, I'll do the same thing. I'll put me a little punch mark right there first to get it started. So I'm going to use it with a 9/36" bit. This wood is fairly hard, so what I do is use a pollet hole. And a pollet hole will direct it right in there where I want it. Now I want it to go right down the center that way and hold it fairly level the other way. And I'm going to show you a way to, several ways to do it. But I stick the dowel in the hole and get me a mark there. And then I stick the dowel in this, get me a mark there. Then I look and I can tell that's the bottom of that hole, so I need about that much longer so I can tell where to put a mark, and that's where I'm going to cut my first dowel, because that's gonna should bottom out that way. So let's go get that done. I'll be right back. Little key factor here I want to give you. You can waller these out quite a bit. You see that don't fit that dowel now. But that's to make sure you can move this around. That's why you don't have to get your hole exact center, because if it don't work out that way, if you don't get it exact center, most of the time you can. But if you don't, you just waller that hole out. Now this was an oblong, it wasn't a circle, so it's a little harder to do. So you waller that out a little bit. And also this hole. See, this hole don't really fit that dowel pin either. But I want to show you what happens when you put it in there. You want it to face that way, and it wants to fall out. But you get it that way, and you got a lot of play on here, you see. So we'll have to drill us a little hole right there and drill a small hole right down the bottom of that, so that holds that secure. Now what we'll do is mix up some AB epoxy. JB Weld Super Clear is what I use for this. 5-minute epoxy, I give it 15 minutes every time. Now you want to mix equal parts of this. Again, I don't measure it. You can get it close enough if you just put 2 balls right beside of each other. See that there's about the same size. Popsicle stick, just so you get that mixed up well. I give it 15 minutes just so it dries good. Now what I've done also, I've roughed up around that with a Dremel, all around that hole. And I've also roughed up the bottom. See all these little specks here? So that glue gets in there. So what we're going to do first, I think, is stand this up. It'll stand right there. I'll fill that hole and over the top of this. Those bigger holes there needs more epoxy. So here we go. It's just simple enough. We'll just fit out another big gob of that. And we have to have an equal amount here. So here we go. Let's see how. So let's get that stirred up. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and put some more down in that hole. Quite a bit down in that hole. Don't want to get in on that skull. That's enough in that hole. Now we'll turn our attention here. We're going to get quite a bit of it. Start out putting it in the hole. And that, when that wooden dowel goes down in there, it'll squeeze out. Remember, the chin hung out over the stick, so we won't put a lot of it down on that end. Now what we do, we hold the stick this way, so we want it'll be facing me as we put this all together. And that will run in there, put that in that hole, and we want it like that. Now we can take and look and see where it's going here. I'll push it back to the back, get it position I want it. It'll want to move. It will want to move back until you set it up straight. Make sure you don't get any sticky fingers on that skull piece. That's going to show up. What I'd like to do You look at the face of that and turn it just, I turned it just a little bit so it's facing the front. And now I've got that. It's got to be convinced it's going to stay there. And I think that's it right there. We'll let this dry. Well, here we are. We're going to start the purple paracord wrap. Purple skull. Appropriately, you'd have purple for the paracord. And what I want to do is put this, take this about, I don't know, I don't cut mine on this one, so you don't have to worry about exactly how long you want it, but I want the wrap to stay between these two spheres, crystal balls here. So I want to go around once, twice, 3 times, and come back over here. For this one, we're going to go here, like this. We're going to go over the top of all 3 of them, go under this one, and over the middle one, and back under that one, and then we're going to tighten it up. This way you can get rid of some of your, that'll stay tight as you wrap. Want to move it all the way up as far as you want to go with it, which will be right at that crystal ball. And I'll pull it tight. And it will, by doing it that way, I found that it stays tight. You don't have to worry about it. It slipped down some. Matter of fact, if you get it too tight, you can't move it. And make sure it's up against that. That's tight, and that don't try to come loose with you. Now at the time here, I'm going to go down and cut this off about halfway down, because I'm not going to come all the way to here, and I don't pull that back through. I always forget my cutting pliers. Okay, I'd go down here anywhere and cut this off so we wrap right over the top of it. Okay. I think I did. Oh, there it is. I go over the top of it like this. I twist once and go right back over the head there. And then I just pull that down again, real tight. I think that's it. And we'll go over it like this, twist and go right down over the head again. And after we get it started, it will start to do a spiral. And you see here, there's the knot. And I'm going to take the little CA glue and put it right on that knot. That will soak in there, and that'll tie that knot for you to where it won't come out. Turn things around and let's get a good look at it here. Well, I guess that does it for another stick. I'm telling you, this is going to be perfect for the Renaissance fairs. I want you to take a look at this mysterious little feller. I had a natural knot on the end of this stick coming out here, so it's just perfect for the side of it. And I had the knot on the back. There's a knot hole here. There's a knot hole here. So to utilize both of them, that's what I did. I took the paracord right there where your nice handle is, right there, and you see what we did with that. Now here you go. Can you see yourself at the Resonance Fair this year with this stick? And you can hold it up, and you can see it has a nice curve to it. But the thing of it is, from this point the handle down the other end comes out right there, which makes a real stable stick. This grip and this puts the skeleton head facing forward and makes a nice grip. So there you have it, your Resonance Fair walking stick. And if you enjoyed this video, give me a thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed, click that subscribe button. Now with that, isn't that a nice purple? That sure is. And you got two crystal balls there to go along with you. And you can see yourself in reflection in those balls too. So let's get on with that. And one more thing. I'll see you in the next video.